Utilize. I truly feel, I mean, this alderman here and the bald-headed one next to me, who is where the ward is, where the actual ballpark is in, and he reminds me all the time. But it's the surrounding community where I'm picking up a lot of your fans, you know, and a lot of people who are very proud of what you guys. So I want to thank you for the innovation. I don't want you to give up. I think if all three of us work on this park district situation, we could do some things. So, for example, I wasn't around when they got Chamberlain, but I think they got it for $1, you know, from the city. I think they should give it to you guys for $1 if you're going to do something with it, because it's set. It's been sitting years. It again, it's in Ward 3, so that's why I have concern, and I don't want it to go a whole bunch of more years like Pillsbury did or like anything over there does. Give it to the people that are going to do something with it. And the one thing I hear is innovation. You just described a whole bunch of going-ons. That's innovative. That's thinking out of the box, whether it's a contest, whether it's design, you're involving old people, young people, kids, or just all kinds of things. And I want to thank you and ask you not to give up. And when your alderman can't get it done, just come and see this alderman, you know, because it's a big impact. And I think things are looking bright. We're going to try to help you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Rockford.
No, thank you, Chair. We've talked many times, Jamie. Chris, first time I've met you, you know, but season ticket holder, I'll be there again. I'll fight for Lanford Park, Robin Roberts Stadium. It's a historic site as far as I'm concerned. People sitting around this horseshoe have played there, watch games there, been through there. You got a beautiful facility going up right next to it. You got the rail project. We've talked about that, but again, you just keep after it. You know, hopefully the chips fall where they may, and good things will happen. And I hope my colleagues around the horseshoe will come out and enjoy a night, drink a couple margaritas, and watch some good baseball, have some fun, good entertainment. So keep up the good work. I'm on your side, you know that. So
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman,
Chair.
You're welcome. Alderman Gregory.
Thank you. You know, Alderman Rockford, first of all, thank you. I love what y'all do. Alderman Rockford has definitely lobbied us to support a good plan to help you guys stay here. And I think I'll be supportive. I need to see the details. But I will tell you, this thing between you and the Park District, it doesn't sit well for me, because I will tell you from a city perspective, the Park District has done, since I've been here, a phenomenal job in our parks, from the east on to the west. And there's just been some miscommunication between you two. But I don't like to see that. I don't think that's how we move forward, right? Yeah. For one municipal body to bash another, right?
Well, I'm not a municipal body.
I hear you. I'm talking about us,
Yeah,
right? So I value your opinion. I get your opinion. But the Park District for here in this city, they have made some tremendous strides. I've seen them work very, very hard to put things in parks for children. Like I say, from the east to the west, and I salute them. I compliment them on that. The ballpark that Alderman Williams is talking about, we took a swing at that many times to try to get something done, along with the Park District, even before Alderman Williams was here. So that it does be on their mind. The things that they're lacking do be on their mind. They go to the state. I think they've gotten 3 or 4 $400,000 grants based off what people in this city want to see in their parks. There's a lot of things, TIFs, all types of things that were created that slow some of that down for the Park District. But I will say, so I'm a big supporter of the Park District. I hope you guys can have more meaningful conversations, because for this to even work, right, the Park District has to say, yeah, we'll make this deal, come to the city, and we'll do whatever we're going to do, right? So let's you know, for me, I want to try to bridge that gap. You know, I'm a big fan of theirs. Even in disagreements, even in when things don't go the way that I want to see them, I'm going to be supportive of trying to keep you guys here and do everything that we can do. But I want to see us, you know, try to work with the Park District and move forward. Trust me. They don't want to waste anybody's time or money either. So that's my spiel on that. And finally, if we can ever get the county to accept our challenge for a softball game, I'd love to have it.
Oh, I heard that's coming
there.
back.
Yeah, I hope so.
They don't
So,
wanna play us.
They don't want to play us, but we hope we can host it at the Horseshoe Stadium.
We will, but you're gonna need to sign some waivers, because we saw this House versus Senate people did, so.
We're a lot better.
We would love to bring the city-county game back. I want to tell you, we've put our money where our mouth is at the ballpark. And with all due respect to the Park District, 20-plus years of having the ballpark, they've applied for 0 grants for Robin Roberts Stadium. If you drive by Chamberlain Park, we should all be embarrassed about what's there. So while you mentioned some significant progress at other areas of town, those 2 properties have been neglected.
Yeah.
That's it. I do believe there's a path forward. I believe there's cooler heads will prevail. We have an ownership group. They know, because I love Springfield. I love it. It's in our DNA. I mean, we love being here. We love being active in this community. The best people on the planet are right here. And seeing those people come to those games, it's awesome. And that's what we're here for. We're not giving up. We're going to keep moving forward and do fun things at the ballpark. This next year is going to be super fun to celebrate 100 seasons. Not many communities around the country can celebrate 100 seasons at a ballpark. It's super cool.
Yeah. All right, I appreciate you. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you, my friend.
Alderman Carlson.
Yeah, I would concur with what Alderman Rockford had to say. Personally, I've been to a number of events, obviously, even through the season and, not in the season, we've had a number of things. And to me, it's a quality of life issue. And to me, I have not seen any ownership group over the years as committed, Jamie, and I'll throw Melissa in there as well. You guys are a team and are at everything together, but really as committed to the community outside of the baseball. That's the whole thing. And I think, the Park District is spread thin. We're spread thin. But as we've talked, I think hopefully there's a path forward. I think there is a path forward. And, just keep plugging away at it because, I'm not gonna give up either.
Yeah.
Like Alderman Rockford. So, thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just end by saying thank you so much for this wonderful and informative presentation and for our little gifts that we got. Hopefully we can accept them. Okay, we got the green light.
Oh, is there above the threshold? I'm sorry, I didn't. They're stadium replicas. I thought it was appropriate, 100 years of the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Maybe I should take it out or somebody should take it out.
It's nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and Alderman Rockford.
Yeah, off the subject, Alderman Hanauer, he's got a freshman son that does play for Joliet Catholic, and he is going to be one of those guys. He is going to be one of those big guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They
That
put
was a
it
tough
to
one on
us.
Saturday, but.
They put it to us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, we-
wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow, that is really cool.
All good?
Very cool, very cool. Well, yeah, hopefully, another one? Alderman Redpath.
Chairman, I've been texted that the Channel 18's not working.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, we've alerted,
Okay,
we've alerted audiovisual.
okay.
get it?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Alderman. Okay, yeah, so hopefully we can figure something out and keep you guys around. Appreciate your investment in the community and, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Okay.
Nice presentation.
All right, next we have ordinances tabled or remaining in committee. Mr. Clerk, could you please read those ordinance?
2024-178, 2024-239, 2024-333.
Madam Chair, I'd like to bring 2024-178 out for the consent agenda consideration.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
I think Alderwoman Purchase. I pressed the button.
Alderwoman Purchase.
Madam Chair, I would like to bring 2024-333 out of this area for a table consideration.
You say 333?
Yes.
You got the wrong number.
Oh, I'm sorry. You right. No, I'm sorry. He already brought it out. It was 178.
Okay.
I just raised my hand, that's all.
Okay, gotcha. So we're just bringing out 2024-178.
Singed it.
And
bet
and
that
everyone.
did.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Look,
All
everybody
right.
laughing at that one.
Okay.
Okay,
Just
we will
gave Alderman
move,
Gregory a heart attack on that.
Right, that's what Roy said. He said, scared me with that one.
Okay, so we're going to move 2024-178 for committee consideration. Mr. Clerk, could you please read the ordinance?
Sure. 2024-178, an ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity to execute, supplementally appropriate tourism incentive grant agreement beginning January 1st, 2024 through January 30th, 2029, in an amount of $500,000 for the Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Move for consent.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? The ayes have it. Okay. Now for ordinances for committee consideration. Mr. Clerk, could you please read the ordinances for CWLP?
2024-440, an ordinance authorizing payment to Dell Marketing LP for Microsoft software assurance maintenance in an amount not to exceed $71,429.92 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Move for consent.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-441, an ordinance approving a statement work with Levi Ivory and Shoup Incorporated, LRS, in an amount not to exceed $95,200 for consulting services in relation to the M365 upgrade project for the Office of Public Utilities.
Consent.
Consent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Public Works, 2024-442, an ordinance regarding the variance request of Section 153.157L pertaining to restriction of access to the arterial street for Centennial Park Place for the Office of Public Works.
Move for consent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-443, an ordinance approving, denying the revised preliminary plan of Centennial Park Place for the Office of Public Works.
Move for consent.
Second.
For approval.
Does,
For approval.
Yeah, for approval, I'm sorry.
okay.
I'll still second that.
Still second,
Yeah.
Alderwoman Conley? Okay, any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-444, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of real estate by the City of Springfield from JJ9 Properties, LLC, in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for the Office of Public Works.
Move for consent.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-445, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of real estate located by the City of Springfield from Brent A. Brockman and Terry A. Zucksworth in an amount not to exceed $30,000 and disposal of 9,108.04 square feet access right-of-way at 1613 and 1623 North 11th Street for the Office of Public Works.
Motion for consent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-446, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of rock salt from Compass Minerals in amount not to exceed $343,920 under State Contract 24-416 CMS-BOSS 4-P-71009 for the Office of Public Works.
Move
Move
for
for
consent.
consent.
Second.
Any discussion? I actually have some discussion on this.
Hopefully you don't have to use it.
Director Fuchs?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. The last time that I was out at the barn, you all had a lot of salt. So,
We are under obligation on this contract to purchase salt every year. We are purchasing 4,000 tons of salt right now. We can either buy 20% less or 20% more. We've decided to go with the 4,000 tons. The price this year is $85.98 a ton, which is about $8 cheaper than we got it last year. So we are obliged to buy salt.
I see,
This is under the state contract.
I see. And there's nothing that we can do about,
Pray for snow.
No,
Like
no, I object.
okay.
I'm with you, Larry.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you. Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-447, an ordinance authorizing acceptance and execution of DCEO grant number 24-203403 from State of Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity in an amount of $345,000 to be used for the expansion of Cokie Mill Road from Washington Street to Old Jacksonville Road and connection to the Sangamon County Trail, and authorizing a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $345,000 for the Office of Public Works.
Move to consent.
Second.
Alderman Donlin.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to, again, as we discussed the last couple of meetings when there's a similar ordinance, how much we appreciate former Alderwoman Turner and now Senator Turner's efforts on this project. This is something that is long in the making, and it needs to happen. It's a safety issue, and just appreciate the support of everyone. Thank you for the consideration, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you, Chair. Second, Alderman Donelan's appreciation of Senator Turner. Do want to point out, I've gotten some feedback, Director, from the response letters, from the comments that were filed, so we probably need to have maybe another follow-up conversation with TJ and Nate and some residents with some follow-up questions. But other than that, really looking forward to this and having this stretch of Cokie Mill be more accessible and a little bit safer for people. So thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-448, an ordinance authorizing a professional services agreement with Crawford Murphy and Tilley Incorporated for engineering services and the City of Springfield for engineering design, plan preparation, and construction services for sanitary sewer rehabilitation in Sherwood and Timberlane subdivisions in an amount not to exceed $517,366 for the Office of Public
Move for
Works.
consent.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-449, an ordinance authorizing a supplemental agreement with Hanson Professional Services Incorporated to perform additional Phase 1 preliminary engineering services for the 3rd Street Greenway and Phase 2 preliminary engineering services for the Greenway along North Street, MFT section number 24-00499-00-BT, and a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $1,300,000 for the Office of Public Works.
Motion for debate.
Second. Oh, Alderman Gregory.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask, Mr. Fuchs, hate to have you walk, you ain't gone too far. Can you talk to me about the 19th Street tracks? I want to be supportive of getting this 3rd Street rail, like it's been thought about. But I have some concerns that, we haven't finished business on the overall plan that was presented to the community on the 19th Street tracks.
Yes, sir. As you are probably aware that the 19th tracks are going to have an incredible decrease in the volume of traffic in the not-too-distant future. The power plant in Kincaid is probably going to go offline in 2027, and the vast majority of all the rolling stock that uses the 19th Street corridor takes the coal out to Kincaid. That is going to be ceasing in the not-too-distant future, which only leaves one company serviced occasionally by rolling stock, and we believe that they could probably be serviced by trucks. So I think there is a very real possibility that the 19th Street tracks are not going to be used for rail transport, which would make it available for a whole lot of other options.
Right. I know, and that's what the 2011 plan that was presented to the community. So I think what I would be looking for is I need an answer. Are we going to put the underpasses on those streets, or we're not? The last funding said it's the final funding for the 11th Street rail. So it worries us that a plan that was sold in 2011, way before I even thought about politics, was sold to the community that we were going to do the 11th Street tracks.
Yes, sir.
Some fancy on the 3rd Street tracks and some fancy on the 19th Street tracks. And we're seeing a bunch of movement on the 11th Street tracks, a little bit of movement here. I believe we put in $500,000 already for some study on this 3rd Street track. So it just troubles me a little bit that we, I guess what I'm saying is I need some type of answer, or is yes or no, so I can, advise the community, hey, it's not happening. And then we need to look for some plans on what we're going to do as far as the Laurel and 19th Street tracks. When you go over them, it causes significant bumps, you gotta really slow down on that thing. And underneath on Cook Street, 19th Street, area, there's stuff actively falling, like it, So I would like to see some type of thought towards how we're gonna just fix
I
those.
believe that short term, I think there are a number of things that can be done with those crossings to calm those down. I think there's certainly something can be done there. As far as the volume of traffic, the future of the 19th Street tracks, it's going to reduce in volume to the point where there could be only a dozen cars, maybe every couple of weeks, that roll through there. And I think that the supply could be provided another way. So I would be happy to run through the entire numbers and the timing with you. If you want to come in, we could sit down and we could go through with all of them. I want to make sure that you're satisfied with where we're going. But from the time the original program was, as you say, sold to the community, I think the economic realities of the railroad have changed significantly.
Right. So I just want to, us as a city, because people are expecting, they're like, man, they're going to do the 3rd Street, the 11th Street, and then the 19th Street tracks. So if it's not going to be done, I want to say, hey, things change, and, they're not going to do what they promised. So, we need to go back to the table and say, hey, lobby our congressmen and congresswomen and say, hey, we would like these tracks, something done with them, whether it's underpasses, whether it's just fixing, and making it green, like we're going to make the 3rd Street tracks if that traffic's going
I
to
would be glad to take that trip with you.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you. That's all, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Williams.
Yeah, so I do want to take it a little further, because I brought this up a long time ago about, and I guess I was supposed to be satisfied, because one of my parts in 19th Street, which is the overpass and all that over to Pillsbury. And like I said last time, well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Laurel, Ash, South Grand, on further south. Yes. Because railroads are notorious, and I have them right now all the way through Northgate, all the way back, old railroads. So you come in and you abandon the lines, and then it just grows into these forests around people's backyards or in between the house, and that's not right. So we need a plan, Director, and I know this might have to involve the U.S. representative and the U.S. senator, both of them probably, but we cannot let the rail do what they just did this summer. It was horrible. We went months, and we had weeds taller than us, than human beings up and down the whole 19th Street. Now we're going down to one track. We need a plan that says if they can't truck, because I heard they wasn't going to truck, then we need to take them and put that one line with the rest of them on 10th Street. And then, like Sean is saying, because we sold a lie to the community. Okay, and in reality, maybe it was a good reason, not an excuse, but a good reason that it's not going to exist anymore. That's fine. But we have to communicate. Hanson's or whoever's in charge can't just not say nothing. And then our people see, like he said, these developments happening, us passing this money, then we get asked in the neighborhood association, well, when are they going to start? Because on both sides, it's horrible along there. If we get down to the one train, the first discussion that needs to happen, are they going to truck or are they going to go over on 10th Street? Because it is unfair to let that long line run through there and go there and just deteriorate all the way south and just turn into nothing. So I'm hoping that when you sit down, I'm in that meeting as well, so I can make sure that, and I know the railroads have a lot of power. They have their own act of Congress. I mean, they're very powerful, and it's very hard to do something. I learned that trying to get them to cut the grass around both sides of the track. But we have to do something, because 19th is too much a significant pass-through going all the way through the east side, all the way through the northeast side. Like I said, all the way up to the back of the homes that me and Larry have problems with in Northgate, where the city don't cut, but the railroad won't cut. And then the people are saying, oh, what are we going to do about them? Then we're going to have a whole line of that if we don't get ahead of it now. So the engineers need to be talking about that now and putting together a plan now, just because we're not going to do it the way The little nice book had all 3 tracks on it, and we approved it and gave money, and everybody gave money, and we got our rail project. Now we're not doing this piece. We need to communicate to them, these communities and neighborhood associations, what are we gonna do with the 19th Street track? So I'll be looking for that date and that time that we sit down and we try to figure something out about it.
Yes, sir.
Because right now, it's a lot of questioning going on, which creates this anxiety, which see, this is how they do us. They just did what they wanted and left us out. And I just don't want that to happen. So I appreciate you, and I hope you can help us. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Redpath.
I too am involved in this because it takes the railroad overpass at Hazeldale by Franklin Park, and then it goes through and crosses the lake down on the south end. That's all that track. And it's deteriorating like crazy right now. Like Sean said earlier, the bottom line is that if they're gonna not do it, we gotta come up with a plan. And Dave, look, I know you're gonna do that. I know you well enough you're not gonna let this sit, but, you know, for 30 years, I've dealt with the railroad when I was the North End alderman, and we've all been, you know, they just don't want to cooperate. They feel like they're under federal rule and heck with the city and heck with the state, and, you know, I wish it would change, but it probably won't. But we have to be in a plan. I want to be involved in this also.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I have a few questions as well. So this is coming from the general fund, but on the fact sheet, it says it's going to eventually be paid in full by a DCEO grant. Is this a grant that we have been awarded? When do we expect to see this money? This is $1.3 million. And I think we should be, you know, do our fiduciary responsibility and protect the money in the general fund, so.
The grant money should be available shortly, and it has to be expended by 30 June 25.
Okay, so you have a grant number then?
I don't have it with me.
I assume someone does. Okay. Hopefully I'll get a response to my email. And so would you happen to know why we're doing this as a change order instead of a new contract? Seems like a pretty big, it's a lot of money. So I was just wondering.
Yes, it is. Well, as you know, Hanson Engineering has been working on Phase 1 of the Greenway, the 3rd Street tracks. That's primarily environmental work. This is actually engineering design for either end. These are properties that are contiguous to the end of the 10th Street tracks, but not directly involved in them right now. Mr. Mendenhall from Hanson Engineering is here. If you have very specific questions, I'm sure he would be willing to help us.
Sure, that'd be great.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, not a problem. So the original agreement was to start the Phase 1 engineering, not to complete it. So what the grant does, that allows the continuation and completion of the overall Phase 1 engineering that's environmental and planning. So that is why it is a supplement.
Okay.
So it's to continue basically the same work to finish it out.
Okay, so this $1.3 million is going to take us all the way through construction?
That'll take you all the way through the planning and Phase 1 environmental portion of it. Then there is additional Phase 2 design that you develop contract documents for. This will be part of that at the southern end along North Street, but then there will be additional Phase 2 engineering that will be required along the rest of the corridor.
Okay, and so when are we going to see that? So are you expecting construction to begin on Phase 1 before Phase 2?
So the portion along North Street, once the design plans are complete, and we're shooting for June 30th, that's when the funding is over with. That is when, at that point, we can start looking for additional construction funding to be able to begin construction along North Street. That can go along while construction of the rail corridor is being completed. And the rail corridor, the rest of the project, essentially, the rail corridor is going to be completed in 27, just the 10th Street portion in mid-27. That is when, if there is indeed additional construction funding that we can get, is when the rest of the corridor could go to construction
Okay,
in 27.
okay. And I assume it's too early for you to have any ideas about how much construction is going to cost us?
Ballpark in the area, we did a study, feasibility study back in 20, I think it was in 22, we completed it. It was about 65 million in current dollars. By the end of the overall project, probably when we're talking construction goes into 2027, starts then, it'll probably be done around 2030. Probably talking close to roughly, I'm going to say 90 million for construction of the overall 3rd Street corridor.
Okay. And so what will we be getting for this? So it says greenway, and I
Yes.
know there's been talk about a bike path, a linear park.
It's all comprehensive, basically the exact same. It is all the same.
Okay.
Yes.
So just we're paving the tracks and making it into a trail.
There'll be like plaza areas throughout it, playgrounds, water art type features, landscaping, benches, lighting, security cameras,
State-of-the-art.
lots of different aspects.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I'm just thinking about budget, and I would just like to say to my colleagues, this might be biting off a little bit more than we can chew, and it seems that if we wanted to do this in terms of like building the trail and then building out all the amenities when money is available and flowing freely, that would seem to be a better idea. Do you know if we are going to get grant money for the plaza and all those things?
So as part of the phase 1 that we're doing with the supplement, we're going to be developing a financial plan to basically schedule out and program out the different pieces, when they should go to construction, how much they would be. And yes, you're correct, you're not going to get $90 million all at once. It'll be broken into phases similar to the rail project. So we'll develop that during the phase 1 and be able to go through that process and get everything kind of figured out and figure out which grants that would be applicable that the city should probably apply for as well.
Okay, so you would anticipate that this would be grant funded?
That is part of it, and part of it may be through state as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. And another thing, I was getting in the weeds and looking at your subcontractor scope and your scope, and I saw a lot of overlap. So I was just wondering if you could clarify Hanson's role as opposed to RDG.
Yeah, RDG's role, it is defined within the scope with specific notes of RDG next to the items that they are doing. RDG's, their main aspect is the overall kind of planning. They're urban type planners, landscaped architects. They're going to be kind of coming up with the overall concept and theme. And then as far as plans go, they are going to prepare plans, but it's going to be more for the aesthetic type features, in addition to lighting, where Hanson will be doing a lot of the, like the path portion, some of the roadways that are on it, grading, drainage type work, figuring out utility conflicts, stuff like that.
Okay, all right. Gotcha. That makes sense. And so I noticed that this doesn't contain land acquisition. Do we have any idea about the cost of land acquisition?
We've got to go through the phase 1 process to figure out what exactly is going to transpire along the corridor to get a handle on the land acquisition, and you can't begin land acquisition until the phase 1 environmental planning is done.
Surely, but do we have any idea about what, we're purchasing this from the railroad?
So as far as the property goes, as part of the rail project, there is going to be an exchange of property between the UP and city. There's a draft agreement out there for that, and the intent of that was to, there's been property purchased along 10th Street for the UP that the city owns. That would be transferred to the UP, and then the UP would transfer their portion of the property along 3rd Street to the city.
Okay, And those transfers would have a cost associated with them or would not?
The overall draft agreement is an even exchange.
Okay, okay, fabulous. That is a mark in the plus column then. And then last question, was this budgeted? I didn't notice on the fact sheet whether or not this 1.3 million.
Since it will be grant funded, I can't vouch for the city's aspect, but I would assume that it was not budgeted since the funding is coming through the grant, and the
Okay.
city will be fully reimbursed for it.
Okay,
But that's really a question for the city
sure,
that I don't
absolutely.
know.
Sorry, didn't mean to ask that at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Director Fuchs?
I would
do you-
concur with Mr. Mendenhall's statement.
So not budgeted?
That is my understanding.
Okay, and so,
To add to that, the original agreement was budgeted for the city, and that was the $250,000.
sure, okay. All right, so this is the first time we're seeing this ask for 1.3. Yeah, okay, great. Well, thank you so much for answering my questions.
Sure.
We have more questions. Alderwoman Purchase.
Mine's is not a question. First, I just would like to thank you for coming to my neighborhood association meeting because you answered a lot of these questions that Alderwoman Nutriano is asking and just went through the overall project. But as we hit benchmarks, what you saying between 65 and 90 million, will we be able to get updates during that time? So when we are being, when we are looking at these items, we're able to see what's going on.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and I think that would just be good, and it would eliminate also a lot of questions or follow-ups when we're able to like read and see where you guys are hitting your marks at.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm looking forward to this state-of-the-art look, though, just to let you
It'll
know.
be great. We intend to have a steering committee for Third Street, similar to what we did for the rail project, where we have the local agencies, IDOT, and other entities that are involved with it, where we can inform them on a monthly or bi-monthly basis of the
Okay.
overall project.
And then my last follow-up is the community engagement piece. So where we can have everybody kind of in one room and you be able, instead of me requesting for you to come to multiple of my neighborhood association meetings within the ward, I think this is just like a collaborative thing for the entire city. Will we be able to do something like that too?
Yes, there will be a public meeting in probably spring to early summer of next year for the project, where we'll be getting comments and recommendations from city individuals.
I know it's been a concern here too, especially when we heard from HUD about how the public comment and what do you do with them. So say, for instance, you receive 10 recommendations that the community, whether it's in my ward or whether it's in Ralph's ward, how will you proceed with some of those recommendations, or just even acknowledge that people have recommended this and could it be implemented, or if it's already, how will that process work?
Yeah, so what we do is we take the recommendations back to our overall team, and as part of our overall preliminary planning process, if there is an overwhelming comments on doing a certain thing, yes, we do take that into account in the project, and have to respond back to public comments as well.
That's
So,
my one
yes.
ask that I would like to see and just follow through with that. But thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
You are welcome. Alderman Gregory.
I forgot to ask this, sorry. What's your name again?
Mike Mendenhall.
Mike, what is Hanson's position on the 19th Street tracks not being done and us moving forward on the 3rd Street tracks?
So I can tell you what we're doing right now with respect to 19th Street. We have reached out to the CN Railroad and have been engaged in multiple conversations with them to see what their future plans are along that corridor. They are looking into that, and we'll probably end up having an answer sometime, I'm going to say this winter roughly, to maybe early spring. There is the one service provider that they do have to provide services to, but there is possibility for potential locations of that corridor to possibly even be abandoned. So they are looking into that because they're the ones that provide that service right now. We're trying to get that information from them to see how the city should really proceed with the 19th Street corridor, since there is a significant reduction in rail traffic on that corridor.
Okay. And they'll provide us a recommendation on what we do with.
They will tell us what their plans are for the future with their corridor that they own.
Right.
So now, if indeed the city, if indeed the city wants to try to relocate that corridor and have the railroad do that, that's something the city could take up, but that's a whole separate issue and would require a substantial amount of funding.
So let me ask you, I don't know if you was around when this was originally proposed, why would we say we'd do anything with the 11th Street tracks? Well, I get it. Climate is different and all of that, but, you know, now that we're here and we're not looking like we're gonna do underpasses there, is there any responsibility to those who sold that to the community to come back and say, we're not gonna do that no more and we need to figure something else out?
So with respect to what will be done, yes, as part of the original Phase 1 study, there was supposed to be underpasses at both Ash Street and South Grand. Those were the only two locations.
Right.
Along 19th Street, nowhere else.
Correct.
And that was based on the train volumes that we had received from Canadian National at the time.
Right.
And with that, you do a benefit cost analysis to see if underpasses are cost appropriate, because you got to be financially, good financial stewards of taxpayer dollars. And yes, indeed, those met benefit cost ratios.
Okay.
With the reduction in overall train traffic, that is something that we're going to be looking to here this winter and analyzing those to see how those come in. That may be more challenging to work with a significant reduction in train traffic.
Okay. All right.
But there is safety improvements that could be done outside of that as well to that corridor.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm not a gambling man no more, but if I was, I would gamble that we're not going to do those underpasses there. However, the original plan down those 19th Street tracks, we just put 16 brand new houses there. And you know, the design that was originally there, it looks beautiful, and we would love to see that on both sides of that trail, as well as some other movement. Because right now, you know, we got a business a little bit. It's not too far from the tracks. It's further enough away for us to do something, but it needs a parking lot. And right now, we can't do a parking lot because there's a dream of 2 underpasses going there. So the quicker we get that answered, and the quicker
Yes.
me and director and everybody can get together and say, you know what, it's not happening, but let's develop these
Yeah,
spaces.
definitely.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate you. I gotta go to the bathroom, I'm getting old.
And I'm going to jump in front of you, Alderman Carson, because I have a related question. So those safety things that we could do at those overpasses, is there any way for us to put those in this scope?
In the 3rd Street scope? No, there would not be. That's completely separate than this. But that could be additional work down the road that could be done,
Okay,
yes.
okay, thank you. Alderman Carlson.
Thank you, Chair. Quick question for clarification from my part. I've heard a bunch of things. This 1.3, this is fully reimbursable, correct?
That is correct, yes, through DCEO.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Alderman Williams.
Yeah, so 19th Street, since we're there, so they're not gonna do it, but my problem is always, when do we tell the public the change, that we're not gonna do it? When was we gonna let them know the update of what's going on?
So.
Right now, they're thinking that you're gonna be putting underpasses under Ash and under South Grand, like you said. You know, and all this other beautification, there's houses and demos and stuff that we're waiting on, that I worry your people about constantly, Director. But we're not communicating, is what I'm saying. So when was the public gonna be made aware that we're no longer gonna be putting underpasses in?
So we don't know that answer yet. Like I said, the CN is evaluating that right now, what they're looking at doing with that corridor. Once we once the CN gets back with us, then we're going to evaluate, look at benefit cost analysis on the underpasses and work with the Illinois Commerce Commission to see if there is other safety improvements that could be done on that corridor. And that'll take place over this winter to early spring.
So I'm okay with the study about, because we got to do something like he's saying about the bumps and the dips and all that. That's fine. But if we know that we got a reduction, it's obvious, we're not going to think it's worth putting the underpasses on if the traffic is not there anymore. That's why I mentioned, just put that one small piece on over there with the rest of the trains, and then we'd only have one train through the whole city, is what I'm saying. And my problem with Hanson's or whoever is making these decisions or has the updates, they don't share them enough. I think we need to have more public meetings, or when you have them, at least say we're no longer doing this so that people know, so we don't get hit with it in the neighborhood association meetings, and the different people who do try to keep up with this type of stuff. But I understand we're gonna do 19th Street the way business is always done in Springfield. I'm gonna go back to 3rd Street. So on 3rd Street, I can't find it on the document here. It's impacting, or what, is it like 180, 179 properties for 3rd Street that's adjacent or gonna be impacted with this whole design?
The project will be adjacent. I don't know the exact number.
Well, it has
But-
a number in it. I think it was, at least, it was over 175 properties. And I was gonna ask you if you were, do you know if, how many of them are houses?
So with respect to house impacts, looking at the overall 3rd Street plan right now,
Yes.
there is no access changes to the 3rd Street plan where homes are at. So there will be roads put in that will provide that access with the overall corridor, basically the linear park, multi-use trail inside some of those roads to provide access to all the garages and everything. That is the current plan. I'm not aware of this 170,
Well, yeah, well, it's
number.
got in there 179 architectural impacted properties or something, some kind of wording like that. So you're not aware of anything about
Not
179
to-
properties?
Yeah, not to homes, no. There will be access
find it.
changes in the downtown area where businesses are, but with respect to homes, no.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming and answering our questions. And
This is
I
on
have to
debate.
say, I personally, in Ward 6, really excited about this project, want to see it move forward, but also want to make sure that we are using the city's money responsibly. So thank you for help clarifying.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, there is a motion to put this on debate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
General City Business, 2024-450, an ordinance establishing the holidays for the city of Springfield for calendar year 2025.
Move for consent.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt proposed amendment number 1.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor of adopting amendment number 1?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Do you want to explain?
Amendment number 1 just clarifies some typos on the dates for Wednesday and Thursday. We just had the wrong days in there. It doesn't change any of the holidays.
Okay.
Motion for consent as amended, Madam Chair?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on putting this on consent as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-451, a resolution proclaiming the second Monday in October as Indigenous Day, Peoples' Day.
Motion for debate.
All right, we have some speakers. I guess it's up to me whether we hear from Alderman first or speakers first.
Who was your second?
Second.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry.
Sorry, I seconded.
Okay. So Alderman Gregory, you're okay with hearing from the public
Absolutely,
first?
absolutely.
Okay. All righty, let's see who we have. Maribel Cruz-Hine.
You guys miss me? I missed you. All right. I have excerpts from the National Museum of African American History, Culture, and Smithsonian that I want to share with you guys. The world got along without race for the overwhelming majority of its history. The U.S. has never been without it. David R. Roediger. Historical foundations of race. Race is a human-invented shorthand term used to describe and categorize people into various social groups based on the characteristics like skin color, physical features, and genetic heredity. Race will not be valid biological concept. It's a real social construction that gives and denies benefits and privileges. American society developed a notion of race early in its formation to justify the new economic system of capitalism, which depended on the institution of forced labor, especially the enslavement of African and Indigenous American peoples. To more accurately understand how race and its counterpart racism are woven in the very fabric of American society, we must explore the history of how race, white privilege, anti-Blackness, and anti-immigrant came to be. The invention of race is a concept of the concept of race as we understand it today evolved alongside the formation of the United States and was deeply connected with the evolution of two other terms, white and slave. The words race, white, and slave were only used by the Europeans in the 15th century. They brought these words with them to North America. However, the words did not have the meanings that they have today. Instead, it needs developing American society would transform these words' meanings into new ideas. Another thing that they had is whiteness. Whiteness and white racialized identity refer to the way that white people, their customs, culture, and beliefs operates as a standard by which all other groups are compared. Whiteness is also the core of understanding race in America. Whiteness and the normalization of white racial identity throughout America's history have created a culture where non-white persons are seen as inferior or abnormal. Persons who identify as white rarely have to think about their racial identity because they live within a culture where whiteness has been normalized. This is from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Indigenous, what does that mean? Of relating to or descending from the earliest known inhabitants of a place, and especially of a place that was colonized. Indigenous peoples' cultures, the term indigenous derives from the Latin word indigena, meaning sprung from the land or native. It was first used in English early 17th century to refer to individuals or groups who originated from a particular region or territory. Why am I talking about this? There is no country named white. Where do your ancestors come from? To what land or people did they originate from? Where are they indigenous from? Why create race? The oppressors, colonizers want us distracted and divided while they benefit from our pain that is part of capitalism. The more we find what we have in common, we break down those barriers of fear, ego, and beliefs that we have of one another. Today, I went to the press conference at the Capitol to end qualified immunity of the police, to stand in solidarity with several families affected by the very system I just talked about. We are all intertwined. Do you guys want to guess how many people it takes to create you? For you to be born today from 12 previous generations, you needed a total sum of 4,094 people, ancestors over the last 400 years. Think for a moment how many struggles, how many battles, how many difficulties, how many sadness, how much happiness, how many love stories, how many expressions of hope for the future did your ancestors have to undergo for you to exist at this present moment? Indigenous People Day is not just for me, but it's for you too. It's an invitation to get to know your ancestors, your history, to learn from one another, to heal, and thrive in ways that we have never thought of before. And with that being said, I also would like to invite you to this symposium that I'm organizing with the Springfield Families for Ceasefires, which is various organizations that have been coming here to talk that are going to attend. And I guess that's all I have. Much love, liberation, and free Palestine. So I'm going to share this with you guys.
Thank you. Next speaker is Michelle Krusheim.
Oh, God, sorry. Good evening. Before I begin, I would like to state that my sources for this essay include the Syracuse University, the Pew Research Center and Data, and the Library of Congress. I have also emailed you all, three of you, on October 15th, a list of data, and I can resend that information if necessary. That said, our students are delighted in seeing the city advocate for the proclamation recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday in October. If you vote to issue this proclamation, you are honoring the Indigenous people of Springfield, Illinois, and the rest of the Americas. You are honoring the people who have inhabited this land for thousands of years, whose ancestors fought and died for. You would be recognizing those who brought forth an abundance of wealth to the present-day United States. Besides food and clothing, which would, without either, the Europeans would not have survived. But how many people know that Thomas Jefferson used the document that means the Great Law of Peace between the 6 nations of the colonized name, the Iroquois, which their real name was the Haudenosaunee, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, to write the Constitution of the United States. In fact, it is argued that the very idea of democracy comes from Indigenous people. Part of these tribes covered the Illinois lands. In addition, this day would finally recognize the genocide to Indigenous people by European colonization. Instead of whitewashing history, it would validate and hold accountable the atrocities that the Indigenous people faced and continue to face. The violence, the massacres, the continual fight for their sovereignty and right to self-determine, and simply put, live as their authentic selves. As I mentioned when I last spoke on behalf of this proclamation, it would end the commemorative narrative that Columbus was a hero. It would work towards upholding anti-racist values and speak to the displacement of the Indigenous people. In Springfield surrounding area, those people include, but are not limited to, the Potawatomi people, the Algonquin people, the Illinois who our state is named for, among dozens of others. It would be the start and push to change the Illinois school code that solely recognizes Indigenous Peoples Day. This has been something Illinois Native American communities have been pushing for since 2022. Again, I repeat, by proclaiming Indigenous Peoples Day, you would celebrate Indigenous culture and Black and Brown culture, language, identity, everything that colonization took from them. The very act of being Indigenous, Black, and Brown people celebrating their culture is an act of resistance today. As I've said previously, things that white people take for granted, such as hairstyles, language, clothing, etc. By formally recognizing the second Monday as Indigenous Peoples Day, you would be bringing equitable conversation into this city. You would be uplifting communities that have been silenced. You would be recognizing people who have been long ignored and forgotten. You have the opportunity to set us on a path toward healing, and you would join the list of about 219 cities that solely recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. No matter what, this eventually will happen. Why not be the people that can say, yes, we voted to make that happen. We voted to make Springfield a better place.
Thank you. Next up is Emily Anderson.
Hello, good to be back. Appreciate you putting this proclamation on. Mayor Busher, it was awesome to see you at our school today, to meet our students too. I think I might let our students do the talking. 2 of them came today, so I might save what I have till next week when I come back and then just kind of stand by their side today. So.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Braden Hacker.
Hello, my name is
Oh,
Braden.
I'm sorry, Braden. I don't have the other student's name.
Drayden.
Drayden and Braden. Okay, go right ahead.
Hello, my name is Braden Hacker. I'm a student at SLA. We learned the true story of Columbus, the stealing, the slavery, and the genocide, and I think we need a change for Indigenous People Day to celebrate all the wonderful things they offer, from teaching us how to farm these lands, to survive the winters, of being the inventors of basketball, the second most watched sport around the world. We need to celebrate them and the grief and losses they endured. By recognizing this, you give voice to those who have been ignored.
Thank you.
All right, my name is Drayden. I'm from SLA, and I came here to tell you about Indigenous Peoples Day. And I came here to talk about this because he didn't discover the United States at first. He first discovered the Bahamas on October 12, 1492. He engaged in enslavement, outright theft, and genocide on Indigenous people. Consider these words from Columbus himself. These people are very unskilled in arms. With 50 men, they could all be subjected and made to do all that one wished. Doing as he wished, Columbus and his crew brought disease, stole precious resources, and ultimately wiped out many indigenous tribes, all in the same of claiming this side of the globe as the New World. Perhaps we do not have much to celebrate in this divided country, other than sports figures and those who have barely helped survivors of natural disasters and deadly attacks. But continuing to honor a man who brought such misery to American Indians only deserves to hide the truth about how this country was formed.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Okay. Alderman Gregory.
Yes, thank you. So, and to the supporters of this, we, like you supported, of course, we had many people that called us, not in support of the proclamation of and recognizing indigenous people, but the taking away of Columbus Day and changing that. So I talked to Alderwoman Purchase, among others, and we really wanted to try to find a compromise on when we honor this date. So I did a little research. So it was August 3rd of 1990 that President Bush proclaimed November as Indigenous People or Native American Month. So my thought was, rather than take that day away, that we add Indigenous people on the second Tuesday in November. Or it could be on the day that he made it. But, you know, the hard part for me is that there's people who respect Columbus. There's people who don't want to see this day taken away. And I don't, as a black man in America, I don't want to slight anybody else's holiday and what they care about for another. I think there's enough days in the calendar to recognize any culture that wants to be recognized native to this land. So my plan is to make an amendment for this particular day and move it to the second Tuesday in November for Indigenous Peoples Day. And in the future, if there's, you know, somebody of that ethnicity that wants to address Columbus Day and do those things, then so be it. I may not be here, but if the chair will allow, So that is what my thoughts are. I'm open to certainly any of my colleagues that are co-sponsors on this
Right.
as well.
So is that a motion to amend?
Sure, unless anybody else got anything to say.
Yeah, I'll wait, and Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't thinking about anything like that, so I think maybe that could be something we talk about next week even.
Sure.
I just wanted to thank the educators and the two students who came down. I understand we do need to make sure that they get back to work soon, right? Doing the good work of Joseph's. But I just want to thank you for taking an initiative and running with it, researching it, and coming to us with your voice to try to change our community. And we hear a lot of despair about, you know, what are the kids doing these days, and where's the youth, and but we see lots of glimmers. Alderman Gregory, you bring every now you bring examples of young people who are doing great things. This was impactful, and what you've done, and you taking the time to come tonight is very appreciated. So please share that with your classmates who couldn't come. But we have, you know, in the Springfield Learning Academy, if you haven't had a chance to get there, it really is a great resource in our community to visit. But I appreciate the teachers who come for this too, and the work that you're doing to bring in people who ask questions and who aren't afraid to have, again, some uncomfortable conversations in this room. So I appreciate that. I think that's all my time. I think if you want to be re-recognized, that's the chair's choice. So I will, thank you. Turn it back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Donlin.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and Alderman Gregory. I appreciate your your openness. You know, I talked to the two ladies that brought this forward with the students a couple weeks ago when they were outside the chamber, and you know, I'm not a historian by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm a student of history and really enjoy just a wide variety. And I happen to read a couple of books about Columbus in the last probably decade, and found it interesting because there's a lot of things that happened that, you know, we probably all weren't aware of. He did do 4 voyages, and there was a lot of activity, and won't get into all those details. But one of the things I was going to say, and I am going to say now, is, you know, I want to say this first, but since I spoke with you ladies the other evening, I've received a few phone calls that you allude to, Alderman Gregory, from Italian Americans in this community, and how they feel about, and they interjected how they feel about celebrating their heritage, and I appreciate those comments. I do, and having not Italian, I am Irish and German, but it is something that is important that I think we listen to. I mean, that's part of the reason we always talk about why we're here. We're here to listen. And what I would encourage, maybe as a part of this, before we vote, that we maybe can get some folks together. I urge the sponsors to get some folks together that are proponents, opponents, and you're suggesting an alternative that may be absolutely something worth considering. But have some dialogue. Use it as a teaching moment, because there are multiple sides, and I think I have faith in Springfield and faith in the community that we can come up with something that will be advantageous and something that can be a learning experience for us all going forward. So anyway, thank you, Madam Chair, and again, thanks for your comments, Alderman Gregory.
Alderman Hanauer.
Thank you. I guess my question is, number one, even Columbus Day isn't on our calendar at the city, as far as I know. I don't know anywhere we don't celebrate it. There's no time off for it. So what we're really doing is we're wanting to change something that we don't even deal with. It's to me, this is kind of a moot point. I like the idea of doing the separate date, because I too have gotten calls from many of the Italian community, and you know, they feel like they're getting slighted on this. And I just, you know, if it's, to me, it's not something we have anywhere in the city, so why are we trying to change something that we don't even deal with? I guess that's my question. You know, if it was a special day, if we had it on the calendar, if we celebrated it somehow, that's one thing. But as far as, you know, city government and that, we don't. It's nowhere to be found. So. Just my point. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alderman Williams.
Yeah, so I'll yield to the young lady with her hand up first, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
Okay, sure. Sure, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to Alderman Hanauer's point, yes, there is nothing recognizing Columbus, which is why I feel like it's irrelevant unless somebody is really asking for a proclamation for Columbus, right? And I get your point with it going on to November, but the whole thing is to recognize the fact that this person really has been fabricated, right? I understand Italian culture, but honestly, does this person really represent Italians when you have a whole list of Italians that actually died for civil rights, that died for being an immigrant? I implore Italian Americans to actually look up Italians in the 1890s, when this holiday comes about, to actually look and see who actually died for being an immigrant, of being an Italian, instead of this person who was picked, where the statues are coming down. This is going to happen. It will take the second Monday of October. It should. It is the important day. It is the day that it has to be, honestly. That is what I have to say.
Sure, thank you. Alderman Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So this, to me, it doesn't have to be this complicated. I mean, I just think this is what our country is going through. I mean, you know, when I was young, they taught me that our first president was was Washington, and that he cut down a cherry tree and he never told a lie, and, you know, all those type of things. And as we grow up, we do find out different things. This is reminding me of the Juneteenth thing. So I was one of the black males that advocated, no, I'm not giving up 4th of July. But then there was a lot of people around me that says, but we want Juneteenth. So it doesn't never have to be an either or. It can be an and, you know, to celebrate it. Columbus is Columbus. There's nothing we could do about it, whether your facts are true or if they're not true. It's just that's what it is. I can't change Washington. I can't change Lincoln. So I was against all that statue, bringing them down and all that kind of mess. What I would say is that it is going to change. I do believe. I remember Juneteenth being in the same situation and being in a minority for years and years. And then all of a sudden, within 1 year, not just the city, but the state and the federal government within the same, boom, you know, it happened. So I think it's an educational process. Until then, I do think we consider amendments like what you're talking about where we can do both. Since both don't cost money because they ain't gonna be days off. They're just days of recognition. And then we don't deal with the personality that the person was a bad person, because we do a lot of things in this country for bad people. We just elected one. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I'll just say I'm going to support the amendment, and I'm hoping we can do both things. Just like I didn't want to give up 4th of July, and today I live with 4th of July and Juneteenth. I'm hoping there can be that Columbus Day for all the calls that I get. They're hearing me say this, but I also hope we can celebrate the original people as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Alderwoman Purchase.
Thank you, Chairwoman. When me and Alderman Gregory spoke today, and I did speak to some of my other colleagues, one call that stood out to me was, Alderwoman Purchase, we understand that people come and they speak up at City Council and they have their opinions and how they feel, but how would you and Alderman Gregory feel if we came up here and tried to change Dr. Martin Luther King Day? I would have a major issue. I would feel some type of way. I would probably say some things that I probably shouldn't say. And so when you look at both aspects, I told this individual, it's a learning curve. It was something that was spoke about, and I remember Alderwoman Conley first bringing it up and considering it, and then Alderman Gregory had came and made a motion for it. But things like this happen. People come up and speak in front of us because they want to see change. Sometimes we're reactive instead of being proactive, but you wouldn't have thought that we might have had gotten pushback from this. So when you do hear from opposition and they tell you their feelings, then I told Alderman Gregory, we was researching on the phone together, let's find a common ground. So I do, as I don't always agree with Alderman Williams, but the and with the 4th of July and having Juneteenth, I agree that this is something we can acknowledge, and it's something we Googled. It's not something we made up. So that's the other thing. We're bringing facts forward too, now that you brought this to our attention, and now we're able to have a common ground with this. So I will be supporting Alderman Gregory with his amendment, and I think we found a common ground for this to not ignore individuals in our community that do want to support Columbus Day as well for the second Monday of October.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Okay, so I have some discussion on this. Surprise, surprise, Jennifer Notriano. I am an Italian American, and I will tell you that Columbus Day and the origins of Columbus Day is actually pretty shameful. So at the turn of the 1900s, one of the groups that was excluded from life and marginalized were Italian immigrants. And we had instances across this country of Italian immigrants being accused of crimes they did not commit and being lynched publicly for those crimes. And because of that, our president at the time decided to christen this day Columbus Day. It was an olive branch for Italian Americans to sort of smooth things over when they were being discriminated against in their life and facing political violence. So I do not support moving this. It would be a tough spot. I might have to not sponsor anymore. Alderman Hanauer is correct. We do not recognize Columbus Day, and I think that's appropriate, and we should keep it that way. And I do not see where we could go wrong recognizing Indigenous peoples' contributions to this country. And yeah, I understand the argument that people are making that this is a substitute or replacing Columbus Day. But for me, it doesn't have to be that, because Columbus Day is an illegitimate holiday to begin with because of its origins. So I'd like to encourage everyone to go to a website called native-land.ca. And you can see a map that shows you can put in your address and see the several Indigenous communities who lived right here on the land we call Springfield. Indigenous folk maintained and lived off this land for thousands of years before white settlers pushed them out and up to reservations where their descendants live to this very day. I support the declaration of Indigenous Peoples Day because we still have much more to learn about Indigenous heritage and how our history on this land affected Indigenous peoples' lives then and to this very day. So I would urge my colleagues to reconsider moving this day and keeping it in line with the rest of the country who celebrates Indigenous Peoples Day on the, second Monday in October.
Call the question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, are we calling the question on his amendment or the
The
question
amendment.
on the, okay.
Okay, all those in favor of,
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear an actual amendment introduced.
I haven't,
oh, sorry.
Alderwoman Notrano, I haven't made a official motion for the amendment, but
Okay.
I didn't know you was Italian American, so that's it. I didn't know those things. I don't go
That's
around
okay.
asking those things.
That's
So
okay.
I do take into consideration what you said. And for me, it's about about people. We have Italian Americans who feel strongly about it and changing it, and then we have Indigenous people who feel strongly about that. What I was just trying to do is find a compromise and move on, because we got work to do to make this city better outside of these days. So I'm open to what you want to do. I think we leave it on debate and let's have some more discussion.
Okay, so,
So no
amendment
right
tonight.
now?
okay.
No, not right now. I want to talk with Jennifer. She's Italian American. I mean, I don't feel right overstepping that boundary, so.
Yeah. And, I hate to sit up here and speak for all Italian Americans, but I am from the South. My great-grandfather came over in 1904 on a ship from Sicily to work alongside Black Americans in sugarcane fields. And the persecution that that Italian Americans had to go through without acknowledgement, with Columbus Day as the acknowledgement, someone who, wasn't even doing his work on behalf of Italy. It's just, I would prefer that we not. Yeah, thank you. So we have a motion for debate. Do we have a second?
You do have a second.
Roll call.
Okay. Clerk?
I just called for roll call.
On debate.
It's a roll call to send it on to the council for debate.
Okay, so clerk, will you perform a
Yes.
roll? Okay, thank you.
Alderman Redpath.
No.
Alderman Gregory. Alderman Williams.
Yes.
Alderman Rockford.
Oh, what do we send it to the council for debate?
I thought we put on debate.
We
There's
put
no
it on
roll call.
debate, the original, ordinance was put on debate.
Putting you on record, or just sending it to debate.
Aye. Send it, if it's going to debate, aye.
Aye. Alderwoman Purchase.
Aye.
Alderwoman Notariano.
No.
Alderman Carlson.
Just to clarify, we're voting on, put on debate the original ordinance. Yeah, aye.
Alderwoman Connolly.
Aye.
Alderman Donlin.
Aye.
Alderman Hannar.
Nay.
Okay, that is 3 nays.
And 7 ayes.
Ayes, okay. So the motion will be, or I'm sorry, the ordinance or resolution will be put on the debate agenda. Okay. Moving along.
2024-452, an ordinance to decrease the number of Class I liquor licenses by 1 for Arlington's LLC doing business as Arlington's located at 210 Broadway.
Move for consent.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-453, an ordinance to increase the number of Class I liquor licenses by 1 for Riley Venues LLC doing business as Arlington Springfield located at 210 Broadway.
Move for consent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-454, an ordinance to decrease the number of Class D liquor licenses by 1 for Gabatones Incorporated doing business as Gabatones located at 300 East Laurel Street.
Move for consent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-455, an ordinance to increase the number of Class D liquor licenses by 1 for Gabatones Italian Restaurant Incorporated, doing business as Gabatones, located at 300 East Laurel Street.
Move for consent.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-456, an ordinance to increase the number of Class A liquor licenses by 1 for Old Fashioned Incorporated, doing business as Gold Mine Gaming, located at 242 South Dirksen Parkway.
Move to consent.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-457, an ordinance to increase the number of Class A liquor licenses by 1 for Old Fashioned Incorporated, doing business as Gold Mining Gaming, located at 2508 North Dirksen Parkway.
Move consent.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-458, an ordinance to decrease the number of Class D liquor licenses by 1 for Twisted Fork Industries, LLC, doing business as Twisted Fork, located at 400 East Jefferson Street, Suite 106.
Move for consent.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-459, a resolution estimating real estate taxes to be levied to partially fund statutory contribution of the police and fire pension funds.
Move for consent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-460, an ordinance declaring various parcels of real property to be surplus property, directing the sale of said property, and authorizing publication of notice and said sale property, and requests for proposals for the Office of Budget Management.
Move to consent.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-461, an ordinance declaring Office of Public Works apparatus and equipment as surplus property and authorizing disposal of said surplus property by auction, sold for scrap, donated, or recycled for the Office of Budget and Management.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Well,
Aye.
need a motion.
I'm sorry.
Move to
Consent, move to consent.
Who's the second? Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
2024-462, an ordinance declaring Springfield Fire Department miscellaneous scrap equipment as surplus and authorizing disposal of said surplus by auction, sold for scrap, donated, or recycled for the Office of Budget Management.
Move consent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-463, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a proposal under RFP CS 19-29 and execution of agreement with Demetrius Grigley for sale of city-owned property consisting of 2 parcels located at 823 and 825 South 17th Street in the amount of $1,000 for the Office of Budget and Management.
Move to consent.
Any discussion?
Yes, I was trying to look at some.
Alderman Gregory?
For, Mr. Fuchs, Chairwoman.
Yes.
It's all right if I speak.
Oh, yeah, Alderman Gregory.
Director Fuchs, quick question. Does this property have a plan to it? Are they just buying,
I
are they just
can't
buying
speak
a lot?
to it. I haven't looked at this.
Okay.
No,
All right.
Alderman, these are vacant lots.
Okay.
So they are vacant lots that this gentleman intends to build, I guess, a house on, or.
Do we have plans for that, a house? 'Cause the
Yeah.
reason why I'm asking Mike,
He had met with the Planning and Economic Development.
Yeah.
Presented them some
yeah,
stuff.
so, and she's not here tonight, but the reason why I asked you this is because I know there's a large project with Nehemiah Projects over here. And it appears that there's some folks that's trying to buy the lots to come back and sell them to them for a higher rate, and that's not what we want. So if this gentleman or lady doesn't have a plan to develop the lot, and it's in the way of that project or hurting that project, then I'm definitely not going to support that.
Yeah. I'll get you that information for next week. But I believe that there is a plan for him to develop these lots, and that's where we're selling it to.
Alderwoman Conley, I will put this on debate.
I was just going to say I'll change my motion to debate.
Okay.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All
And
right.
who's the second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-464, an ordinance declaring 8 unclaimed bicycles being held in the Springfield Police Department's evidence room to be surplus property and authorizing the Springfield Police Department to donate said bicycles to the Springfield Urban League and Douglas Avenue in UMC.
Move consent.
Second.
Any discussion? Alderman Redpath.
Do you want to hold on to these until budget season's over in case we have to use bikes instead of cars?
You don't have any cars.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? I mean, yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
2024-465, an ordinance authorizing acceptance and execution of the 2024 Community-Oriented Policing Services, COPS, grant number 15J COPS-24-GG-02157-TECP from the U.S. Department of Justice in an amount of $300,000 and authorizing a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $300,000 for the Springfield Police Department.
Move consent.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Alderman Williams.
Chief, can you explain what we're gonna do with this money? Besides spending,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Alderman. I apologize.
what, the usage, what are we gonna do with this grant?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to let, I brought my grants expert, Deputy Chief Josh Dunkel, so he can talk about the next 3 ordinances.
So this is a COPS technology grant from the federal government, Bureau of Justice Assistance, and primarily we are using this for equipment to build out our real-time information center within the police department.
The center downstairs and next door?
No, this is going to be planned for the first floor in conjunction with our FUSIS program, which is the Virtual Real-Time Crime Center. This would allow us to really have individuals who are there watching the dispatch screen, providing information to our responding officers, being able to watch the videos that FUSIS has connected us to give that information to the officers as they're responding, whether for safety or suspect information, whatever we can provide them while they're responding to the incidents.
Thank you. I'll get with Chief.
And I'll just touch on one thing real quick. As you notice around the country, especially with larger cities, you see these fusion centers and/or real-time crime, real-time information centers. I can tell you that Urbana is rolling one out, Champaign has one, Bloomington Normal's in the process of rolling one out. We've worked very hard to find grant funding, both state and federal level, to help us build one out. Again, it helps with the efficiency of law enforcement work. It helps with the safety of our officers as they respond to calls. So that's certainly what we're gearing towards. You will hear more about this in the upcoming budget cycle as well.
Alderman Gregory.
Yes, I support this, but I do want to say, the other grants, I know there's some good things in there, Chief. I'm hoping that we can start pushing those things out, especially next spring. I know, in that $3 million grant that we just passed some things, there's some other things, on your side, right? Some fix-it program stuff, all of those things. I want to see those things rolled out, and so we can, continue to build on community.
I want to see those things rolled out too, so. No.
But
I agree with you, Alderman, that we have, again, when we're fortunate enough to receive grant funding, we need to capitalize on those programs and get the programs up and running. And it's certainly been a busy summer, if you will, and some of that stuff has been placed on the side burner as we work through some other issues in our community. But we certainly have some time available and resources and funding available to roll out some projects.
Thank you, sir.
Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you, Chair. I just, you were both shuffling your papers like you're going to leave. And I just want to ask you to stay because I have questions for the next ordinance. That's all.
Shuffling the papers for the next
You
ordinance.
really look like you were ready to make a fast break right
Getting
there.
ready for the next one.
Okay, good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-466, an ordinance authorizing a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $300,558.23 using uneffectuated funds from Revenue 077-112-POLC-EBHR-2018 in order to replenish the Connect and Protect Law Enforcement Behavioral Health Response grant budget lines with remaining award fund balance for the Springfield Police Department.
Move for consent.
Second.
Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you. I didn't even get to hit my button. If you could just real quickly explain what this program does, what the model we're working with in this city, just have a little more detail around what this response unit is.
These grant funds are what support the Memorial Behavioral Health social workers riding along with police officers, responding to crisis incidents. Puts a social worker in the car with a police officer responding to those incidents. These funds were essentially left over from the 3-year grant. The first year of that was really planning, and then we had a little issue at that time finding social workers, so there were enough funds for us to extend that for another year, and good till next September, and continue that and expand those services, hopefully.
And then how many social workers do we have working with the police department on this?
We currently have 2 who are riding along for a total of 70 hours a week.
Okay. So it's not all on one shift, it's
Yes, they're spread out. I'm not sure exactly the hours that they work,
don't
but
need to
some in the
their
morning and into
schedule.
the evening.
Thank you very much.
Alderman
Actually, I'm sorry, actually, how many calls, and I know I'm not expecting you to have this at the top of your head, but on average, about how many calls a week do the mental health providers respond to with our officers?
We would have to get that back to you.
Okay,
I don't have
thank you.
that.
I'd appreciate it.
720 and 2020.
Yeah, I was just wondering more, if we had updated numbers, if we could get that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Alderman Redpath.
And you answered part of my question about how many, but how do you determine who they're riding with? What districts, and how do you do that? Do you have a formula, or?
The officers volunteer to take the social workers, and then they're available anywhere in the city when those calls
So
come
you
out.
can hand them off if you need to?
They will take that officer to whatever area of the city that the call is needed. So if the officer is assigned downtown and the call ends up east, west, south, they'll respond to it regardless.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-467, an ordinance authorizing acceptance and execution of Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, ICJIA, grant number 102501 in the amount of $2,888,405 for co-responder programs and authorizing a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $2,888,405 for the Springfield Police Department.
Motion for consent.
Second.
Alderwoman Purchase?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Josh, can you explain how this is working?
So this is the second round of funding for this grant. The previous year, we had $3.1 million. We put that out to several local areas, including Memorial Behavioral Health, Solid Rock Youth Transitional Services, Sojourn, Washington Street Mission. Some of them came up last year to discuss that funding. That funding ran out June 30th, and we were awarded an additional $2.8 million. So we are now essentially identifying who those funds would go to.
And then, Josh, can you also elaborate, Alderman Carlson and Alderwoman Nutriano was there, and I did the tour with you at Washington Mission, how that worked with some of this funding, so people know where the funding is going.
So under last year's funding with the Washington Street Mission, a lot of that was used to build out the facility there. They created some office space that will assist with our homeless outreach team and other social workers working with them to have access to the individuals there, to have an area where they can speak with them privately, discuss what resources they need, to identify where they can get that help, and just have an area that's more private. And, you know, part of that plan in doing it at the mission is going out to where the individuals are. They're seeing, I think he said, around 200 people a day right now.
Yep.
And so that's a population that needs assistance. We know where they're at. Let's take the social workers and our team to them and get them the help that they need.
And then going back, my last statement and question, going back to the last ordinance, you said that our officers volunteer to take the counselors out to where these individuals are?
Yes, our co-responder program, which has social workers in the squad cars, those officers are volunteering for that program.
And then going into this grant, they also do that?
Primarily, the officers involved here is just our homeless outreach team. That's Officer Newman. He would be the primary one going to the mission.
Would this grant allow for us to get maybe additional officers to be out? The reason being that I'm asking, was it Chief Scarlett yesterday that I called you, or my days are mixed up? But anyways, I went into a house and I had to FaceTime Chief Scarlett because there were pots that was set on fire. There was clothing, there was carts that I've seen personally within the area of Enos Park, and this house is piled up. And then I have another house on 7th Street that keeps catching fire every other night from individuals going in there. So I'm asking, do we have additional officers that we could put within this grant to help out with going out to those individuals, especially when we catch them in there?
Yeah, there's no money in here for additional manpower as it pertains to officers. However, I don't know if you guys remember when you increased the Springfield Police Department head count to 269, there was a bill in there for another homeless outreach team officer. That will come as we get closer to that authorized strength and get people trained up. So that's yet to come, but that will then double our homeless outreach team from 1 to 2, along with Shannon Allen. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Alderman Gregory.
No, that's some of my comments. I just hope that with this co-responder grant, with this set of money, that we really push the priorities, like on 5th, what we got on 5th and North Grand there, 15th and Cook, we got a guy. The West Side, I hear about that all the time, and IDA has a heck of a section over there. And I just think that to remedy these problems, we have to really, like, you know, every day got to be out there trying to help those people get off of those sections, and then, you know, we'll work everybody else. But we got these high priority areas, and they linger a little bit. Not, you know, I just feel like it has to be a relentless pursuit on that. We have to have people over there every day. Not only our police officers, but mental health, and all of that, and try to reduce that population in those places, because it's growing and not going down.
I would agree with you, and I would say, and I've said this multiple times, Springfield Police is
Yes.
but one cog in the wheel when it comes to solving our homeless crisis. Absolutely. We're certainly willing to do our part and have done that, and are willing to go out and research and find grants, substantial grants to help this problem, but we alone cannot solve the problem. Right. And we want to be part of the solution. Yes. I want to be very clear on that, but we alone cannot solve the problem.
Yeah, well, within that partnership, like, I just think that we gotta really focus on those areas really, really, really hard, and see if we can get a remedy, so, thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-468, an ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between the City of Springfield and Springfield Area Art Council for the purpose of the first night and general operations in an amount not to exceed $30,000 for the office of the mayor.
Motion for consent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-469, an ordinance approving a lease agreement with the Springfield Park District for the office of Corporation Counsel.
Motion for consent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2024-470, an ordinance amending Chapter 70, 79, 98, and 170 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended pertaining to parking regulations for motor homes, trailers, and watercraft.
Motion
For
for
debate.
Second.
Any discussion? Alderman Carlson.
Hey, I got a question. I don't know, was it Corporation Council? Is this what we're talking about, motorhomes or trailers or watercraft parking on the street? Or what are we talking about here?
Yes, so this, it does a couple things. It clarifies some definitions in our code. And then it does get into parking on the street and parking in private property.
What is the time length?
For,
When a kid, you park on the street? For, let's say, for a boat.
well, that, so,
Is it 3 days or 4 days, I think, something like that?
so it's 48 hours in our code, but that's not the section that this
Okay.
addresses. This is abandoned or inoperable that we're addressing, and that's 30 days if it's inoperable on private property as opposed to on a public street.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Williams.
Corporate Counsel, so who's enforcing this?
So this would run through our code enforcement department.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you. Corporate Counsel, we have a proposed amendment number 1. For this, I'd like to propose adoption of proposed amendment number 1 for this ordinance.
Second.
Okay.
Just technical corrections. for
Yeah,
things.
so the original ordinance, as it went forward, had the same provision in 2 different spots, and this eliminates one of those spots at the request of my office, just to make it clearer as it reads.
Thank you. So I would just adopt this amendment.
Okay. Alderman Hanauer.
Oh, do we got a motion on the floor then?
Yes. And a second.
We,
All those in favor of adopting the amendment?
aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
So
Alderman
I would,
Hanauer.
actually, if I could, then I think Alderman Redpath put it on debate.
Debate, yeah, I got
So,
some questions.
yeah, I guess so.
I want to look at the whole ordinance, and I
Okay.
didn't get a chance to do that.
I'll just say motion for debate as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Well,
Oh, I need,
Alderman Hanauer.
so this is just this is only for when they're on, like, in somebody's front yard or on driveway or backyard or alley or whatever, right? Is
So,
that-
yeah, it addresses a couple items, and Alderwoman Purchase and her constituents were looking for some clarification that our office would like as well, which is why she proposed this ordinance, but it actually defines trailer, which hadn't been done before. So that definition now would apply to both on-street parking and private parking. And so it addresses that. It addresses parking trailers and motorhomes on public property and then on private property. And then it clarifies, we had a section about inoperable motor vehicles and watercraft, but the actual text of the statute didn't address inoperable watercraft. So this makes it clear that that entire provision applies to both. So it really is a clarification ordinance.
So how does one decide, because I could see this being a problem out the lake. There's some times where people park their boats and they're operable, they just don't have a chance to get them in for the year or whatever. How do we determine if they're inoperable? And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to, I think this is a good ordinance because we got, and it's not, it's cars, it's everything. We got, people that just leave
Parking what
things
they
in their
want.
driveway,
Yeah, so that's something that we still have to prove. And our ordinance says if there's excessive brush around it, for watercraft, for example, or if you have 4 flat tires for a vehicle and it looks like it hasn't been moved, that creates a presumption. So we would cite them for that. But then if they come in and it works and that boat works, we would then dismiss the case because it is actually operable. So we get that presumption if there's that there, but we still need to prove it in administrative court.
and I get this question a lot, and I got a warning one, it was 5 years ago. I had my boat parked out in front of my house and didn't have the car connected to it. And I was told that I could only have it out there for 12 hours without the car attached. And, of course, I was getting ready to go. I can't remember if it was winter or summer. I was a little shocked by that because it was one of those things where you bring it home in the afternoon and you're going to leave the next day, So what's the rule on that? Do you know offhand, or because I do know you probably get it too, Chuck, and many of us you put a trailer out in front of your house, and I know people that use it for work. They park their trailer out front. They hook it up the next morning. They go, and they get there's times when they get. I've had people call and complain that we've hit them for it, or.
I think it's 48 hours, but I'll confirm that with you.
All right, I just thought I'd ask while this was up. Thank you.
Alderwoman Purchase.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I was going to ask Murdoch to explain, but everybody hit the button real quick. You did a good job, and I think as this being an ordinance I wanted to bring forward, I had examples. For instance, when our wards changed, me and Alderwoman Conley, we had someone who had a trailer, and we had that issue. Then we had a boat where trees was growing up through the boat and the tires was flat. So I have multiple numbers and pictures of things that I could show you. And when I'm turning this stuff into Corporation Counsel and CCing him on with my zoning manager, it's hard when we have to go back and try to figure things out too. So I think this is just cleaning up some of our ordinances that we have and making it more simplified and having a concrete answer when our constituents are asking. And sometimes you just have ordinances that's been on the shelf for a long time, and you may just need to start back looking at them again and updating them. So I would ask for you all to support my ordinance, and I'm fine, Alderman Redpath, with you still keeping it on debate, but supporting me next week for it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alderman Donlin.
Yes, Alderwoman Purchase, thank you. You brought this issue up, gosh, it was over a year ago that you talked to me about it, and I appreciate your efforts here. Just, I would encourage Corporation Counsel, if you could do me a favor and just do a little research. The last page of the ordinance, it's the sections in red that say, for the purpose of this section, vehicle shall include. And then the new language, it includes the words all-terrain vehicle or golf cart, both of which are not technically non-highway vehicles. There are 4 types of non-highway vehicles, and I would like you to consider that we might need to say non-highway vehicles instead of those 2. That would include 2 other types of vehicles that could be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And let the sponsor know, and if you could let me know too, I'd appreciate it. Right. Golf carts, Alderman Hanauer said that golf carts are only allowed in the city of Springfield, which are non-highway, one of the non-highway vehicles in Piper Glen, but you're talking about non-operable, whatever we include in this. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Redpath.
I'll bring all my conversation up next week because I got a lot of research to do on this.
Okay. All right. There is a motion for debate and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
We are on to unfinished business.
Thank you. Next is unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before the committee? Alderman Williams.
Yes, Director Fuchs, my friend. All right. So this issue here is turning into a big sore spot. I don't know if the state senator has contacted you, but I'm speaking of Adloff.
Yes, sir.
Now, Adloff upset me when you presented with your staff, I don't know if it was budget or when, but you guys had a list where you prioritized things, and I got angry because they said, well, Adloff is a fall project. And I said to you, why can't it be spring or summer? Because I've been waiting forever since I became an alderman in 21, and you guys act like, nope, it's got to be the fall. Well, now it's November, and nothing's happening. And I want to know why.
The engineering portion of, and as you know, it's drainage is a huge issue over there. You've got a lot of change in gradations. It is a very, very old oil and chip road, and so there is substantial engineering that needs to be involved in, and I believe we're just about finished with that, so.
You know, I mean, listen, this is one of those, like, whatever his hill was when I got on Hilltop Road, yeah. We have to do something. Nate Bottoms needs to come like he used to then, so that I can address him, because he can't keep delaying this. Now, you said that it was gonna be a fall project, so that means you knew that it was a chip road, you knew we had drainage issues, you knew all this already.
Yes, sir.
So that's not answering why haven't we started.
I think the engineering is just about finished. Let me check, Alderman, let me find
Yeah,
out.
'cause I really-
I haven't talked to him about it for
Yeah,
for a
and
bit.
then the second thing is, I'm hearing Nate Bottoms is saying that what the senator gave wasn't enough money, and she got upset. Because she said, well, why would he let all these years go by and didn't tell me? She said, I could have been and gave him more money or moved more money for the project. Adloff needs to be done. And Director, all I'm asking is to quit, we need to, and I know it's Nate and it's not you. So that's why, you know, he doesn't come anymore, but I catch him at different ribbon cuttings and different things, and we discuss these things. But Adloff needs to be started. I don't want to be like Hilltop Road and wait, what'd you wait, 5 years, Chuck? Or whatever, you know. I'm just trying to do a good thing over there. It was promised. That was one of her first things she gained when she became senator. And all these years have passed and we have not started. I was at the neighborhood associate meeting and I took a whooping about it. Because they knew in their minds, we said the fall, and that's what I went back and reported to them. It's gonna be a fall project, and they see it's not started yet. The second thing, I'm not sure yet, but at my infrastructure meeting, I brought this issue up. So we have built Popular Place. Popular Place, I'm satisfied with. It's beautiful, it looks good, all that is true. However, we have families walking in the middle of the street trying to get to the dollar store, Burger King, Popeyes, County Market, all that stuff up there, because we made, the city related and housing, made the front entrance and in and out Rochester Road and didn't build no sidewalks. And I know that's not a new subject to them. Any place else I would have tried it, regional planning, which I served on in the past, or other places would have been having a fit about a design with no sidewalks. I don't know what happened there. I just know that kids, even with someone with their parents, are in the middle of the street. And when somebody gets hit, Mayor, it's on the city. Because they know. I talked to Nate, I called him at the ribbon cutting, I said, where's the sidewalk? You got this place open, we cutting the ribbon, it's 100% full.
Yes, sir.
And they can't walk. Once they come out of their complex, they're in the street. Elementary school, right there, they're in the street. Because either related who runs it or housing, city, somebody somewhere felt we need a sidewalk because those kids, mostly kids, but some adults, are walking to that dollar store, they're walking to that Burger King, they're walking to all that out there on South Dirksen, on South Grand and Dirksen area, J.C. Penney, you know where I'm talking.
Right.
And they have to walk in the street, they have no choice, because one side is a big ditch, the other side is right up to the fence. I don't know why we didn't plan that sidewalk. I asked him about the sidewalk. He said maybe in 5 years. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. And again, I'm on record, on TV, wherever, saying to the mayor and the city council, it's on us. When one of those kids get hit or a human gets hit, people have died on this street. We've already had, back when Brandon was doing it, Brandon Drive. We need a sidewalk, is what I'm saying. And that's another Nate problem. And if he disagrees, he needs to come and tell me why. Because we need that sidewalk, and we definitely need to start our ad-law project. So I appreciate you letting me fuss at you, but I try to remain friendly, but I'm tired. I'm
Yes, sir.
tired, man. Thank you.
Alderman Redpath.
You know, it wasn't 5 years, it was 7 years.
Oh, well, God
Alderman.
help me.
And it took a little kid getting run over by a car before they decided to do it. And I'm not blaming your department, I'm blaming other people, what I don't need to say. But the bottom line is that whenever we get this situation, we're culpable to, that we know there's a potential problem there. I mean, we're setting ourselves up for a major lawsuit when we do that, because if somebody gets hit and we knew there was a problem there, it's our fault. Now, the other thing I wanted to know is, when are we going to do our infrastructure meetings?
We're ready to start those at just about any time.
Because that's got to be, that's always been a part of our budget preparation, and the aldermen's got to have their input in those roads. I know that there's already planning being done, but there's a lot of stuff that is on the planning board, I know from my ward, that I want some input on, and I know everyone sitting at this horseshoe wants input on theirs. So if you would push that, I'd appreciate it.
We'll go ahead and start it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Redpath. I could not agree more. I had emailed y'all, I believe like a month and a half ago about my meeting. So yeah, if we could go ahead and get those started, that would be great.
One follow-up, Chairman.
We're happy to do that, Chairwoman, but at any time, anybody in this august organization can call me or any one of the engineers, and if you have a short, specific question, we'll take it. If you want to come down, and we'll sit down and roll down the plans and you can call us, you can reach out to us, and we will make ourselves available at any time if you have a question.
Thank you.
Could I have a follow-up?
Sure.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Alderman Williams, I know your frustration with that, but I think I recall that, wasn't that road in the county up until about 2 or 3 years ago when we brought it into the city?
Yeah, I think it's newer,
Okay.
so I'll give you that.
So
but-
I'm not sticking up for it not being done, because it needs to be, because I know that the Hilltop Road that we got fixed, that it's flooded every day with people walking on the sidewalk, so.
So part of it, I'll give you that. I think part of it was until a few years ago.
It's Rochester Road, is that correct?
No, he was asking me about Adlock though.
No, but
Rochester, the part I'm talking about is
Yeah.
all city.
Oh, okay, I was thought you were talking
It's all
Rochester
city
Road.
if it's
Yeah.
Rochester. When you cross South Grand and you get over, then you're right.
Okay.
That's a newer part of Old Rochester Road.
But
that
what's the
was
school
county.
right there where Rochester Road?
No, that's it.
Withrow?
Yeah, that's the part I'm talking
Okay.
about. The new elementary school is across from the new Popular place, and there's no sidewalk.
Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Alderman Gregory.
Well, I don't have a complaint, Dave. We'll talk in our infrastructure meeting, but I would like to talk about the new firehouse number 6. It's open. The ladies and gentlemen is in there, and so I want to talk about when will we have our ribbon cut. And then I know we've talked, and you guys have invited me over and stuff, and that firehouse is there not because of me. It's there because of the community, and so I want to come with them when we have an open house. I know I can come anytime. I know you talk to me, but I want to wait. I want to come with them. I want to come with the community who's waited so long, and they call me and stuff like that about it, and they're happy that it's there. And we went a long haul on it. So I'm whenever you are willing to plan it, I want to know a little bit in advance because I got to wiggle off work and things. But I can tell you that they're very, very, very happy for that and excited. So.
Yeah, so we will start the planning and that, and it'll be a couple of weeks before we get that all figured out. we'll make sure you and the mayor and several of the other dignitaries, it fits into your schedule. And then, but with the holidays and that, we want to get past the holiday of at least Thanksgiving and such. And then we'll look for some dates that are agreeable for our schedule. We've got the budget, and I don't know how your schedule looks over the next 2 weeks, but mine's pretty packed as well. So, you know, and we will definitely have an open house. It'll be no different than the others, and we'll have cake, cookies, and have all of the public in to see it. We'll also want to make sure that Chief Scarlett and his crew can be there, because we've got that police substation, and then Director Posey, since we've got the community room. So, you know, it's a big thing. We needed to get out of the other house because there were some issues that we had to vacate there quickly. So, getting in, you know, just happened to work out, and we moved in last Friday. So the guys are doing really well there. You know, it's a beautiful place, and I do welcome any of you to just give me a call, and I'll take you through one-on-one before that or afterwards, along with any of the firehouses. So you guys are always welcome for a tour, and also to come see me at any point in time if you have any questions.
No, I just wanted to make sure we talked about it in public, because there's been so many calls on it, and people are happy, and then others like, Sean, why you do you like that, and I have a ribbon cutting, and I told him, hey, I've talked to Chief, and we had some issues at the old one, so I would rather see our firefighters be in a nice new building, and we can do all that cute stuff later.
And you know, I don't have to tell you, because I've talked to you every step of the way.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And even the day before we moved in, we talked over the phone. So
Absolutely.
yes.
So I appreciate you.
Yes.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate our fire department. I hope you guys are enjoying it. And as I said on the book, I'll see.
It's definitely much cleaner. So,
I know.
yes.
Is there going to be cake?
Yeah.
There's always cake.
Thank you. Alderman Williams.
Yes, Chief. So, are we turning Firehouse number 6 into a gaming?
Nope.
No.
No.
So
Just joking.
it was one of the ordinances before you tonight, to surplus it and then
So it's gonna be sold?
purchasing. Yes, it'll be sold.
But you don't know if it's getting sold to somebody that's gonna open gaming?
You know what, I am not part of that process whatsoever. I would imagine it's part of an RFP process that, you know, that is not something that I get involved in, so.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Any new business to come before this committee?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I didn't hit.
Alderman Hanauer.
We were talking about the budget, and I just want to throw out there that last year we let Alderman Donlin run the budget process, and he did such a good job. I think we ought to let him, make him do it again. Unless somebody else wants to take it over, but I would make a motion that we
I'll second it.
put
Second.
Donlin in. You're
All right.
stuck, Jim.
Thanks, Ralph.
Do you accept?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do it.
Great. All those in favor of having Alderman Donlin chair the budget process?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Any,
I'm gonna pay for that one.
okay. If there's no more new business, now is the time for citizens to request the committee. First up, we have Robert Frazier, who appears to have left.
Let's try.
Act like it's a.
Yeah, so he did leave abruptly. He got called because there was a small fire at his laundromat.
Oh, my goodness.
Our crews were there, they put it out quickly, but that's where he had to rush off to, so.
Thank you for
Okay.
that. Yeah, sure. And we hope all is well there. Next up is Ken Pasha.
Evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Just had a couple things to touch on. I did want to mention, I didn't sign up to speak for Indigenous Peoples Day, but there were a couple things that were said I did want to touch on there. The comparison was made between Martin Luther King and Christopher Columbus. As far as I know, Martin Luther King was not a rapist who kidnapped children, murdered, countless thousands of indigenous people. So I would hesitate to use that kind of comparison or language publicly with someone like Martin Luther King, who we all consider a broad hero. And I don't mean that as an attack, but the documented behavior of Christopher Columbus and his treatment of indigenous people is extremely well documented. So as a city, I feel like, just as a note, when that does go into debate, it's worth noting that hundreds of other cities in the United States have absolutely stuck with the date that was chosen. Other states, including like Alabama and Mississippi, have already made it Indigenous Peoples Day or a variation of that. And I feel like Springfield, Illinois is much more progressive than a state like Alabama. Not to pick on them, but I think we can all broadly agree on that statement. So it might be worth considering that just in terms of making that an official day. While we don't recognize Christopher Columbus Day, it'd be worth it just to kind of show ourselves as a progressive city. I think we all do consider ourselves in some fashion to be a city in that fashion. So it'd be worth it to consider that with the debate that you guys are going to have on that. The people that did come to speak had valid points, but it's worth noting the expansion of that date throughout the country as that's become a more popular movement and our country starts to recognize the behavior that it exhibited towards those people for, well, even currently. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the least we can do as our own city. Additionally, I did want to kind of note something that I've heard our chief mention a couple times now that he's been here. They are continually asked to fix the unhoused problem, not just by you, but everyone in our city. And it seems redundant and silly to keep having them be asked to fix it when they only have a limited amount of tools to do that. The last progress this council made towards unhoused publicly with resolutions or ordinances, which was the last one you did. And we're not going back to visit that, but I think that's the frustration for a lot of people in the community is we've spent, has it been 2-3 months? It's hard to keep track with the election and everything else that's been going on, but we haven't seen any forward progress on that from you guys. And it's very frustrating that, I mean, I've been to some of the places out there that are doing the work, and I know people that are out there doing the work, and I know you guys do too. But as a council, what has been done since then to advance that point? And I think it's just frustrating, even for some of the people on the council. I'm sure you get asked what's going to be done to change that, and I'm sure it's even more upsetting for Chief Scarlett. I mean, they only have a limited number of tools. When they get there, they can either put you in a 72-hour hold, or maybe, if they're lucky, get you into some of the places that can help, but otherwise their only other option is to put handcuffs on you. They don't have places to do that, and I think that's frustrating for them to be like, well, you guys need to head over to these areas. Well, I mean, guys, we kind of know what they do when they get there, and that's not their fault. That's their job. But with things like CESA and that being put into effect after the first of the year, hopefully with some more funding from the state of Illinois for that, we'll see more progress. But, I mean, beyond that, I feel like as a city council that maybe there could be more done. I mean, you guys know more than I do on that end in terms of your own limitations of authority, but I just feel like that's something where we haven't seen a lot of forward progress on that, even though that we see, you know, when Scarlett comes up here, you guys ask him to do stuff, and it's like, well, what can he do? You know, what tools are we giving him beyond more money that they're working extremely hard to give to other organizations to try and help solve those problems? So just something to consider there. And then overall, I guess, I wanted to touch on, we'd passed for the body cameras and things like that. A real-time crime center does lead to the idea of constant surveillance of the areas that it's deployed within. And I think it worries me that we kind of know where those are going to be deployed within, what neighborhoods they're going to go into and the kind of people that are going to be affected by that. That lack of privacy is disconcerting. I live in a neighborhood right over here. You guys have heard me mention it numerous times. On the streets that I live around, there are constant the cameras that the police put up to monitor problematic homes, which I'm not upset about that, but at the same time, I mean, that is a constant, consistent monitoring that the people in the neighborhood are under, that we live in, that we own homes in, and so forth. And it's even more upsetting to consider the idea that that may be around the clock, that those cameras may be posted up in my neighborhood watching my streets. And while that may make some people feel safer, I don't feel safer under a camera's gaze at all times. That seems more like constant surveillance. And I guarantee that we won't be deploying those cameras everywhere, because that seems silly, right? We're going to focus them in high crime areas, which, as we all know, is kind of a little bit of a dog whistle. Where are they going to end up? Who's going to get picked up for them? Who's going to end up getting that footage? And I think the part that I do want to touch on right quick before my time runs out is the AI technology. It mentions that that is going to be used to blur out faces, make it easier to redact, things like that. Are we going to see a quicker movement on FOIA requests? Because I think the problem is a lot of the FOIA requests we've had have been denied because of that. You know what I mean? So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck.
All right. Up next is Robert Williams.
Good everybody. Good morning, everybody. I want to touch on the mission and mental health behavior. But right now, I want to touch on this incident that happened to this lady. I was staying in Super 8. Motel, sorry about that, Motel 8. Red Roof Inn, I apologize, y'all. I was at the Red Roof Inn, and I was staying there, and I was helping out with security. And this one lady, she had just ran out of funds. And Kenny, who worked for the mission, he came through asking people did they need any food. I said, no, I'm cool. But this lady, she need housing. And they had just got a $350,000 loan, grant. And he told her, hey, I can't help you, but I got this card. And it was to another agency, which came to no avail. But it was redundant. It was stupid that this man laid there and gave her a card when he just got paid, when they just got a $350,000 loan or grant. And now, Kenny, he worked for the mission. He is assigned to pass out food to the homeless and less fortunate. One day, around June of 2024, Kenny and his team came to the Red Roof Inn. On this particular day, I was living at the Red Roof Inn and working, and I was approached by Kenny, asking me if I wanted something to eat. I told him that I was good. Now, this man, like I say, Red Roof Inn, Mission got $350,000, if I'm not mistaken, and Helping Hand got $750,000, and they ain't doing nothing with this money. I just got approved for my SSI, but I'm glad to pay my rent, but I shouldn't have to or have to because everybody else that's getting housing, they ain't paying for a year, but it's a catch-22, and I don't want to be under that. Because if you allow them to pay for your rent, they ain't going to do nothing but kick you right back out. And then they're going to take that money, extra money, that which is approved by the government for everybody, to get housing. And the United States Supreme Court approved that, ruled that the homeless people need to be off the street. So Kenny, Eden, he's in charge of the mission. This man, he's he's an arrogant person. He don't have no respect. He talk a good game, but he don't. Cause one day, my boy, I told y'all about this, got stabbed, waiting to see mental health. He went to he admitted himself, Tyler. And when he got out, he got stabbed 4 times. And that ain't cool. We should be able to be a house, but once we get housing, we got these rules that we have to abide by, which is understandable to a certain extent. But we don't have no privacy even when we got these places that we stay in. And that's a law. Right to privacy, First Amendment. Let me see. Oh, yeah. About these parties. I'm out here homeless. I'm standing there by the scene. And me and Solo. And it's cold as hell outside. Excuse my French. I don't think that's a curse word, but if it is, excuse me, you all. But we out here. He got a tent. I don't. But the first day he let me use it. When we finally got it up, figure out how to put it up. And then the next day, the lady called the police. But they didn't do nothing because of the law that was passed down about not being able to remove a person from his place of stay, and that's our place of stay. We have no privacy. Our First Amendment right to privacy.
Please conclude your remarks.
Say that again?
Please conclude your remarks.
Okay, well, my remark is this. When is y'all gonna do something about it?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. And next up is Alice. She is not here. And that is it for citizens to address the committee.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Oh, no. Why do I never? Oh, here it is. I need it to be like big. Just like a little, like, yeah.